Federal High Court today in Abuja sacks 20 Cross River State lawmakers over the defection from PDP to APC. And the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, says the APC convention slated for this Saturday, 26th of March 2022 will hold as Governor Buni today resumed at the party's state head office in Abuja. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Baloye in Abuja. Tonight, let's begin by telling you that President Muhammadu Buhari had a series of guests at the presidential villa. One of them was a minister of power over the erratic power situation in the country. After that meeting, the minister spoke with journalists. This is some of the issues that he raised after that meeting.
I directed NAC, MBED, and the Niger Delta Power Holding Company to go into emergency gas contract to ensure that their plants are activated to supply about 800 megawatts from that angle. The Ugweli that was vandalized was repaired and it came back on grid. The gas pipeline was repaired and it came back on grid with around 400 megawatts on grid. So, and a couple of other things that we have agreed to do, and we are chasing them now. They have started yielding results. So you can see now that it's evident that something is being done. So the energy situation we are facing is not only in Nigeria. It's all over the world. So we are only having our own shares, and so we that given this responsibility, we will not relent. We will continue to do all things necessary to ensure that we keep giving Nigerians electricity.
Well, then you heard the Power Minister, Abubakar Aliyu, on the situation of power electricity in Nigeria after his meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari. Another person who met with the president today is the governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma. He met with the president and issues of security in the state came up. He also spoke about the APC National Convention slated for the 26th of March 2022. He says it will hold and there won't be any change as against reports and stories making the rounds that the convention may not hold. Take a listen to the Imo State Governor, Senator Hope Uzodinma. Well, that's the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma. Apologies for the lack of audio there. We'll bring that soundbite to you much later on the program. But let's now move into some of our major story tonight. There is being another legal shake-up that will cause for conversation for many, many months and weeks to come. And it's about the issues of defection. So today, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has sacked 20 members of the Cross River State House of Assembly for defecting to the All Progressives Congress APC. The People's Democratic Party in the state had instituted a suit against the lawmakers over their defection from the party to the APC. Take a listen to the lawyer after the judgment today in Abuja.
The appellants, the governor and deputy governor of Ebonyi State, and the second to the 20th defendant in the other suit, all filed their notice of appeal within almost 24 hours. They also filed a motion for stay of execution of the order of the Honorable Court. You also recall that a few days ago we were here when we moved the courts to allow the record, the file to move to appeal session. That had been done, and the appeal had been entered. And by the law, once appeal is entered, it is now the Court of Appeal that will be seized of all proceedings in the matter.
I humbly and respectfully disagree with the judgment. There were some major areas of the pleadings that His Lordship did not touch at all. For example, the defendants in this matter, the legislators, tendered hard evidence in terms of letters of expulsion by the PDP as a political party due to the schism and crisis at the national level of the party, saying they were expelled from the political party and that they did not defect.
Well, you heard the lawyers in the matter. There are a lot of issues that came up in that matter. Who does the Constitution envisage will defect or move from one political party or the other? Does he affect executive member in a member of the executive or the legislature or the parliament? In fact, is it the senator or the House of Reps member that the law envisage? What are other legal precedents on this matter which may affect the case on hand? Don't forget that the issue of Ebonyi is on one hand, which has gone to the appeal court. By the way, the governor and the deputy governor had gone to court to withdraw the matter, and the case was struck out today in court because they've gone on appeal. These are all the issues that we throw up tonight, and we dissected for you because we have a very sound legal mind on the program tonight. Stay with us, everyone, because we take some of your political roundup stories and we'll be back.
The Ebonyi State Governor, Dave Umahi, and his deputy, Kelechi Igwe, have formally withdrawn from the Federal High Court, Abuja, a motion of notice seeking a stay of execution on the court order, removing them from office. Their decision, they said, was because they had approached the Court of Appeal, Abuja Division, to reverse the decision of Justice Inyang Ekwo, who ruled that they be removed from office. Their plea was to be reinstated. The chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Abdul Rashid Bawa, has given reasons why the immediate past governor of Anambra State, Mr. Willie Obiano, is still in detention. This, according to Mr. Bawa, is due to Mr. Obiano's not meeting bail conditions. He says the EFCC had granted him administrative bail and added that the arrest was not political. The EFCC boss was speaking in Abuja shortly after the opening of the 5th Annual General Assembly meeting of the Network of National Anti-Corruption in West Africa.
He has been granted bail. We are waiting for him to fulfill his bail conditions. He has been cooperating with us, and everything is going on well.
The People's Democratic Party has expressed its readiness to take over the governance of the country in 2023. That, according to the opposition party, is to liberate Nigerians from the shackles of poverty, hunger, unemployment and insecurity caused by the maladministration of the All Progressives Congress, the APC. The party's national secretary, Senator Sam Anyanwu, spoke during the official defection ceremony of Natasha Akpoti-Odoran and 5,000 members of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, to the People's Democratic Party in Kogi State. Days to the National Convention of the All Progressives Congress, a Buhari support group has underscored the need for unity in the party. The chairman of the coalition, Mr. Abioso Kabir, made the call while speaking with journalists in Abuja. He appealed to the leadership of the party to address all lingering crises before the 2023 general elections. The Allied People's Movement has suspended its national chairman Yusuf Maman Dantale and the secretary Oyedeji Adebayo, and subsequently appointed Mrs. Rose Gyar as the acting national chairman of the party. Addressing journalists at the National Secretariat of the party in Abuja, the acting chairman gave reasons for the suspension of the party leaders. She said it was due to non-interest in developing the party by the duo. She added that the step becomes necessary to reposition the party ahead of the 2023 general elections. A group, the Grassroots Mobilization Initiative GMI, has urged Nigerians to collect their PVCs in preparation for the 2023 general elections. Speaking at a media briefing in Abuja, the chairman of the Board of Trustees of the organization urges INEC to ensure that all Nigerians willing and able to vote get their permanent voter cards. The group also notes that though they supported the candidate of the PDP in the 2015 general elections, they will, in the build-up to the 2023 elections, remain neutral until they identify a leader that is capable, pragmatic, purpose-driven, and a true Nigerian who makes sure that Nigeria works.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's go back to our major story tonight. It's about the defection stories. And interestingly, in two states, Ebonyi and Cross River State, the issue of defection has gone to court and is causing a lot of legal battle. So another one has happened today, and that's in Cross River State, involving 20 former PDP lawmakers who defected to the APC. Well, there are issues that have been brought up in that matter. Some of them claiming that the APC says some of them are not even the members. Some of them are saying, well, there was a crisis in their party. In fact, the lawyer is also saying the court does not have jurisdiction because it was taken out of Calabar where the event happened. What does the law say about all of this? Tonight, I have a senior advocate of Nigeria who interestingly has sat on several political stories, legal issues in court. Senior advocate Jibrin Okutapa joins us now tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, it can only take your...
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I know I pulled it out in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And we have a legal scholar also, Evans Ofeli, who joins us from our Lagos studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Ofeli, for joining us.
Thank you.
Let me get your legal opinion on this. Now, 20 of the lawmakers from Cross River were sacked. This is similar to what we saw in Ebonyi State. Some lawmakers were involved, but the governor and the deputy governor were also involved. What does the law say about defection? Does the law envisage that state lawmakers are going to defect? For those who argue that it was only the House of Reps that was envisaged in the issue of defection as captured in the Constitution. Give us an understanding of what the law says.
Well, Shenwa, I need to be very careful here because most of these matters are in court. Unfortunately, Nigerians are interested as to why at this material time, if we are to go on the parameter of morality, whether those who were themselves beneficiaries of these constitutional iniquities can be allowed to approach the courts to seek equitable remedy of a declaration.
Or protection.
Or protection. We all, like I said somewhere yesterday, Nigerians are not stupid. We are very inquisitive people. Yes, it is true in our constitution, two categories of political office holders, the legislature and the executive, had separate provisions in our constitution as to what they needed to do and where they needed to stay in terms of parties that sponsor them to political offices. In terms of legislature at national level, for instance, Section 68, subsection 1G of the Constitution allows a legislator to defect, provided, of course, that there is a division in the political party upon which he ruled to the National Assembly, and so on and so forth. For legislature, there are conditions for which you can defect. And if those conditions are not there in the Constitution, then you are likely to lose your seat. The Supreme Court has said so in Abegunde, the matter that happened from Ondo State. And then there are definitions of what constitutes divisions in political party. It's not a self-induced division. It's not a division of a crisis you fomented yourself and wanting to take advantage and benefit of it. It must be a division that is sort of a magnitude that the political party itself cannot function at national level. Those are the conditions that the Constitution stipulates.
So,
as for Section 68, subsection 1G or 2G of the Constitution. Now, as for the executive, I was having a discussion with a learned scholar who took me on memory lane to the 1999 Constitution and says that under that 1999 Constitution, 1979 Constitution, I have not had the privilege of reading it, that also the executives were not allowed to defect. And that if you defect, you risk losing your seat. But under the 1999 Constitution, you will recall that the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria have had occasion to defect from the platform of PDP upon which he and Chief Olusegun Obasanjo were elected to join the political party then known as ACN, Action Congress of Nigeria. Now, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo at that material time had said by virtue of that action of His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, is deemed to have resigned from the office because it was not envisaged morally that he will leave the party upon which he was elected to another political party and engage in political contest against his own political party. The matter went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, upon interpretation, says that, in summary, without quoting their lordships, that a member of the executive that defects from a political party to another party, from the party that upon which he was elected, does not lose his seat. So the matter is in court. In case of a Buni, for instance, I listened to my learned brother Silk that the appeal had been entered. The Court of Appeal is now seized of the matter. We want to wait for what the Court of Appeal will say and the firework that will go on there. But let me say this, that I welcome some of these decisions, if only it will instill political debate, political sanity, and so on and so forth. If our judges now can give effect to our Constitution. But something worries me, and that is, why is it that all of these matters are brought to Abuja?
That's a matter of jurisdiction now.
Why are they brought to Abuja? There are decisions of our superior courts that, notwithstanding that the Federal High Court has one territorial jurisdiction, that territorial jurisdiction is Nigeria, there are divisions of the Federal High Court. For instance, in Ebonyi, for instance, in Calabar, for instance, in Enugu, for instance, even in Kano. There is also one in Makurdi, for instance. Why are litigants rushing to Federal High Court in Abuja? We are put at disadvantage, those of us practicing law, who are not handling this matter, because this is a matter of national and sensitive importance. And in most cases, their lordships, with their overloaded docket, have to abandon other matters for these matters.
And speedily attend to
it. If you look at the way and manner the matter that was filed in Umuahia traveled within 11 days, service, filing,
some will even say 10 days.
Concluded. If that is the speed at which justice travels in Nigeria, majority of us would have not been worried. So all I am struggling to say is that Nigerian judiciary seems to have been overwhelmed and overworked with political cases at the detriment of other equally important cases pending in court. So my take, therefore, is that we should be worried that matters which ought to be filed, for instance, in Calabar, have been filed in Abuja, because the defection did not take place in Abuja. The House of Assembly of Cross River State does not sit in Abuja.
So it should have been heard in Calabar.
It should have been, because that's
at the appellate court. How critical does the court look at the issue of jurisdiction?
Well, jurisdiction is the
Can it affect the meat of the matter?
Jurisdiction has been equated to the blood in human being. Without jurisdiction, whatever decision that the court render, however beautiful it is what we call ex nihilo nihil fit. From nothing, nothing comes. So if there is no jurisdiction, therefore, it's an exercise in futility. So it's a crucial constitutional and jurisdictional matter that needs to be looked at. And we need to let our political office holder approach courts that federal government has established within their territorial jurisdiction. For instance, the defection of members of Cross River State House of Assembly took place in the precincts of Cross Rivers House of Assembly, a territory not coterminous and the same with the Federal Capital Territory. So the course of action happened in Cross River States.
All right.
And then when we talk about course of action jurisdiction, where did the course of action take place? It is in Calabar. Where are the lawmakers reside? It is in Calabar. Right. Is there any federal high court in Calabar? My answer is yes.
All right, just a moment. Let me go to our Lagos studio. Mr. Ofeli, there are a series of precedents that are very much alike into this matter. You look at Abegunde versus Ondo State House of Assembly, in the case of AGF versus Atiku Abubakar, in the case of INEC versus Amechi, in the case of APC versus Marafa. You can mention on and on of some of these cases. But in this particular case of the Cross River State House of Assembly members, is there anything different? Is there anything novel that has emerged from the judgment of today that you can tell us?
Well, the judgment of today is just in line with what the Constitution have provided. There is nothing novel about it, because the Constitution has clearly stated that, you know, for parliaments or legislatures, you cannot just defect. You must show grounds upon which you are taking such decision. And where the court is not satisfied with the grounds, just like in today's case, the court said that the documents presented by the defendants, you know, were defective, okay? That they have dined and wined with the PDP only to ditch the PDP at some point. So I think that political harlotry should come with severe consequence. And I think that Nigerians should welcome judgments like this, because politicians must be disciplined, no matter how you look at it. Okay, it is this same indiscipline that they have taken across board. It is the major reason they are unable to provide good governance for the people, that level of indiscipline. So when you look at it critically, you find out that our judicial system is taking our political system to growth. Okay, it's instilling discipline gradually. But the only area where I have problem, like the issue of Buni State, are the consequential orders that the courts are giving. Okay, because when the court make consequential orders that the PDP should feed in a candidate, and then you look at section 141 of the Electoral Act, which says that if you do not participate in an election in all the stages, you cannot be a governor, then you find a conflict there, okay? Because what you have now is a conflict of law. Those consequential orders cannot stand the test of time. Even in the case of today, where the 20 lawmakers are being asked to vacate their seat, what is going to happen? Are we going to now, is the party, the PDP, now going to feed in candidates that did not contest elections? Or how exactly are you going to come about that? So those consequential orders, we must look at it. I think that the Constitution must be tinkered in such a way that the orders of the court, as they are being made, will be in sync with the provision of the law. Because after making the pronouncement that you defected from this political party to this political parties, your vote, you cannot transfer it. The people or the electors who voted you on the basis of the political party that brought you to power, and now you are no longer there, okay? And now the court is now making consequential orders to say that, okay, the party should now feed in candidates in those positions. Are you going to do that without election, both at the parliament level or at the governorship level? So how would this candidate emerge? Those are other jurisprudential questions that we must put forth. and then we are able to marry it together,
right.
because what we have.
Okay, so I wanted to put in this question. One of the major bases at which you find lawmakers defecting, and I think it's decided in law that there must be a crisis upon which the decision of your movement must be premised on. So this, and the law also specify where the crisis must be. It must be at the national level. But I mean, where there is a crisis in this sense will be an issue for argument. In fact, when this case goes for an appeal. But the big question here is that what is the fate of these lawmakers as it stands? Because there are also denier that APC, part of the case, or the argument was that they were not members of their party. What happens? How do you define crisis? What makes up a crisis? How does the court see a crisis?
I think in the eyes of the law, a crisis will be what the law say it is, okay, and not coming up with letters of dismissal. Okay, the Constitution did not talk about letters of dismissal as the 20 members are banding around the document to state that the party had expelled them even before the defection and all that. So crisis in the context of this would be, jurisprudentially speaking, what the court mean to be crisis. In this case, Justice Taiwo, okay, came to the conclusion that the document presented by these lawmakers are defective. They have no probative value, okay, to warrant them to have defected from their political party in PDP to APC. Okay, so that will remain a context on appeal. Okay, it is not the appeal court that will determine whether or not those expulsion letters are being tendered as evidence will stand the test of time, because what we have now is that the court have utterly rejected those documents. There are no evidence. They are evidence without probative value, so they cannot stand the test of time. Most of the time, these political parties go and orchestrate the so-called division, orchestrate the rancor, and then defect, then turn around to say that it is because of the same rancor that they cooked up themselves, or the same division that they orchestrated surreptitiously. And then they want to use that to convince the court. I mean, the court is not a church. The court is not, the court will look at the issues beyond the surface, and the court will brood into the intent and intention of the evidence that are before it, before the court can admit and believe such evidence. Even when the court admits such evidence, the probative value and weight it will place on those documents will be based on its veracity and the weight of law that is put forth.
All right. I don't know whether, Senior Advocate, you might be able to educate us. We are due for a break. I want us to come back and quickly wrap up. You educate us whether or not at the appellate court you will be able to argue some of this evidence, whether they be tenable at the appellate court, or, I mean, what is the fate of, they have the right of appeal, isn't it? They can't lose their seat if they go on appeal immediately.
They have the right of appeal. I agree with my learned friend that if the tempo of judicial sanity being instilled in our politicians are maintained in the right place, I should be the one celebrating it. But I'm worried that, yes, their lordships have done what they needed to have done, but the question of jurisdiction that we have raised are fundamental, and I'm happy that my learned friend, Mr. Ofeli Evans, agree about the question of jurisdiction. I agree with him about this. But when you talk about those branding documents, I heard my learned brother, Chief Michael Zokome, talking about being expelled. Now, there are a lot of difficulties that some people I'm encountering as to the question of this defection and becoming a member of another political party. Now, how do you prove membership of another political party? Is it by newspaper cutting? Because if APC, for instance...
What about the verbal announcement on the floor?
Because membership of a political party It's not an announcement on radio. You must be a member of a political party. Did they tender the register of voters of APC containing their names? They have been registered there. We are talking, and I'm happy that my learned friend says court is not a church. We are talking about court of law. How do you prove, for instance, that Mr. Okutepa is a lawyer? Is it by parading myself around on the street of Abuja and calling myself lawyer that makes me a lawyer? Or you want to know if I was a lawyer, if my name is on the roll of the Supreme Court.
So, Senior Advocate, just give me a moment, because I want us to come back quickly and wrap up on this one and put a note of finality in our conversation tonight on this matter before we move on. Stay with me, everyone, because when we come back, the learned legal minds in the studio with us will be giving us their final thought on this matter. Plus, we look at what is happening in the APC. It's just how many days now before the national convention, but who becomes the next APC chairman? One of the contenders will be joining me in the studio right here. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's now conclude the thoughts on the issue of defection. The latest being the one from Cross River State that was decided in the Federal High Court in Abuja today. Will these 20 lawmakers from Cross River lose their seat in the House of Assembly there? Some of the legal minds that are talking to us tonight: Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Jibrin Okutepa, here in our Abuja studio, and Evans Ofeli, a practicing lawyer and a legal scholar from our Lagos studio. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. So you said, Senior Advocate, that they have the chance of appeal, right?
No, they have a right of appeal.
Yeah.
Everyone that is dissatisfied with the judgment of the court has a right of appeal. But if you appeal, appeal does not operate as a stay of execution. So
I thought an appeal is an automatic. I mean, when you file for an appeal.
No, the appeal does not operate as a stay of execution. So if you want a stay of execution, their lawyer knows what to do, and they will file the relevant processes.
I'm wondering why the Ebonyi State Governor and the Deputy withdrew their stay of execution.
Because the Court of Appeal and the Federal High Court do not exercise a coterminous jurisdiction. Once an appeal has been entered in the appellate court, the lower court ceases to have jurisdiction, because the Court of Appeal has become the dominious litis. It has become seized of the matter. It has the whole power over the matter now. So a stay or not stay can only be ordered by the Court of Appeal. So the Federal High Court no longer has jurisdiction, because the appeal has been entered. There's a distinction between entering an appeal and filing an appeal.
Okay, so as soon as you enter an appeal and it's registered
with the appellate court, appeal number is given, record has been transmitted to the Court of Appeal, appeal has been entered. So every application, even the one pending at the trial court,
all injury, all action will be pending.
The Court of Appeal will be the one to become the master of the proceeding. So the lawmakers will know what to do. But my worry, and let me say this on a final note, is that while I salute the courage, the doggedness of the pronouncements of their lordships, which I welcome, and like my learned friend says, which will instill political sanity in an otherwise insane political environment in Nigeria, we must be very careful in order not to waste our resources in a wrong forum, because the forum of adjudication is fundamental. There are decisions of the Supreme Court that you can't take a matter that happened in Sokoto, for instance, and bring it to file in Abuja, because there is a Federal High Court in Sokoto. And why do we waste our resources to establish this court and bring the judex nearer to the people? If people can be brought from Sokoto, for instance, to Abuja to adjudicate over a matter that happened in Sokoto, because the place where the cause of action arose is crucial for the determination where the defendant resides. Now, the 20 lawmakers of Calabar, for instance, or Ebonyi, are not residing in Abuja, although they frequent Abuja for purposes of comfort. But does their frequency in Abuja translate them to be resident in Abuja for purposes of sue them before the Federal High Court in Abuja? Final point that worries me is these are controversial issues of that you talk about forgery or not forgery, and they all began by originating in someone in affidavits, how do you determine authenticity or otherwise of allegation of a forged documents of expulsion under originating someone, which is supposed to deal with a question that does not involve a substantial dispute of fact? There is a dispute as to whether or not APC, for instance, from what I heard you say they are not my members. Then if he said, if you defect and become a member of another political party, membership is proved by membership card, by membership registration, the register of vote of a member of the political party.
Not an equity, not a membership.
Not newspaper court, because anybody who doesn't like Shehu Okibaloye, for instance, will now say Shehu has resigned from channels. How do you prove that Shehu has resigned? We need to call the channel people whether Shehu has a letter of resignation with them. And indeed, he has taken up appointment with the law firm of Mr. Okutepa. We need to find out if Okutepa had given Shehu Okibaloye a letter of employment, and then they say you are impersonating as a lawyer. So, which court did you appear?
So, how to prove that becomes...
So it is easier, and I'm happy my learned friend said that that the court is not a church. Yes, if it's a church, it's a question of morality. But what is the distinction between morality and legality? There are two far poles apart. So what I talk law, I am not... yes, it is morally wrong for a politician to jump ship. But how morally upright are they, even in governance?
Thank you so much, Senior Advocate. I sincerely must thank you for your thought tonight. It's very much appreciated. Thank you so much. Let me go to Lagos and get the final thought of Mr. Ofeli. On this note, what is the biggest lesson that Nigerians must take out of this?
Yeah, the biggest lesson Nigerians must take out of it is that it is now an established fact that law is a cause of social engineering. So we must use the law to kill the mosquito that bites the slave, because we have no guarantee that if it sees the bottom of the king, it will not do the same. I close on that note.
That's a very instructive one. That's a very instructive one. But quickly also, even in 30 seconds, you can tell me, Mr. Ofeli, whether or not the fate of an executive and a legislature in the issue of defections are fundamentally different. What would you have to say to that?
Well, they are fundamentally different to the extent of the consequential order made. If you look at the executive, for example, Section 141 of the Electoral Act clearly states that you cannot become a governor except you participate in all the stages of an election process. Okay? So where the court now makes a consequential order that the PDP should feed in a governor in the place of Governor Dave Umahi, that consequential order is running contrary to Section 141 of the Electoral Act. And that is why I think that may not fly, okay, because on appeal, that consequential order, I don't think it will fly, not preempting his lordship at the Court of Appeal. But I think it will not fly. But for those legislators who defected, I think their seat is vacant as we speak. But the consequential order also that the court is going to make, or that the court has made as regarding how those seats can be occupied, can the party now produce candidates without elections to represent the constituencies? Okay, the respective constituency, without the people's input, without the electors' input in that case, or is there going to be a rerun? Those are questions of law that must be answered. And given that the lifespan of this administration is almost gone, before appeal is entered and transmission and all that, we may be looking at a situation where time would have defeated the purpose. But I think that is a good one for our judicial system.
I must sincerely thank you for coming tonight, Mr. Evans Ofeli, practicing lawyer and a legal scholar also. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Let's switch gears, everyone, and let's give you the latest that came out of the APC today. For the very first time in a while, the national chairman of the APC and the governor of Yobe State, the chair of the caretaker committee, Governor Memala Buni, was at the party headquarters today since returning from his medical trip and visiting President Muhammadu Buhari in London. There's been some controversy over whether or not he remains the chairman of the party. But today he was received into the party headquarters the first time he will be seen in the party office. But we understand now that the screening committee to be led by the governor of Katsina State will resume tomorrow. There's been some delay in the release of some of the subcommittees that will work on screening and other logistics relating to Saturday's March 26 convention of the APC. Well, one of the seats that will be keenly contested for is the national chairman seat of the APC. There are a series of people that have gone to collect forms, from George Akume, a sitting minister, to the former governor of Nasarawa State, Tanko Makura. Also, another former governor of Nasarawa State is Abdullah Adamu. And we have perhaps the youngest of them all, Salihu Mustafa. Interestingly, tonight he joins us right here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Salihu Mustafa, for coming tonight.
Thank you, Shehu.
You've obtained your form?
Yes, I was the first person that did. And I submitted since on Friday. But to correct you, I'm not the youngest. There is Mohammed Etsu.
Oh, yeah, Mohammed Etsu from Niger State.
From Niger, who is a serving aide to the governor of Niger. He's the youngest out of the 6 of us.
You were the youngest at some point, but
of course.
There's another.
At least I'm happy now that I have a younger one too, because I want to see the young grow too.
But how optimistic are you about this race?
Very optimistic. Like I've always said, for me, it's not about coming to contest. It's not a contest of titles. For me, it is a contest to add value, to serve. For me, it's a call to serve. And that is why I've always explained to those that care to listen that it is time we do things differently. And that is the slogan of my campaign.
Doing things differently.
Doing things differently.
You said so many things. You're a businessman. You wanted to become governor of Kwara State at some point. You were a national deputy chairman of your party.
The legacy party,
of CPC at the time. So you will say, because I've had this conversation with you, that you have a pedigree in party administration. But the big question is whether or not you have the capacity to be able to handle the intricacies and the complexities of your party at this point. A lot of people will say that your party is still divided. There's still those dichotomy from the legacy parties, the CPC, the ACN, and the ABGA, the new PDP, as they were. That the question is how you can put them together, considering the fact that you have several governors, several ministers, several bigwigs in your party, and you know what has happened in your party in the last 3-4 years. There's been a lot of crises, and those who say that after President Muhammadu Buhari, the center might not hold.
Well, and that is the more reason why I'm optimistic, and that is the more reason why I believe I'm the right choice for this party at this crucial time now. One, nobody has the history of this movement the way I do. Two, I happen to be in the middle age of both demography now, whereby the younger ones see me as a sense of or resemblance of what they believe in. And I've been old enough to hang out with the older ones who have tutored me in this journey so far. Like I said, nobody has a history of this movement the way I do. What people fail to understand is both CPC, ACN, and the ANPP are all from the same family. Far back in '99, if you could remember, it was APP then. And it was a breakaway part of the APP, or when the AD failed to work together with APP, that they went away, and the AD gave birth to AC. The same AC became ACN, and now they are in APC. In the ANPP, it was APP initially, it became ANPP, then later on the ANPP gave birth to CPC, and we found ourselves again in the APC. So for me, we are all from the same family. That is why we don't need a stranger at this point in time now, at this crucial time now, to come to lead the affairs of this party. You need somebody who knows where we are coming from, somebody who has the energy, the patience, the understanding, and somebody who knows where we are going to, and somebody who is going to add value to the whole arrangement. Today, among the lot of 6 of us, I'm the only one without an appointment. So I stand to be the neutral candidate. All other aspirants are serving senators, serving minister, and a serving special advisor to the governor of Niger. So if you bring any one of them, out of the senators, the 3 of them, any one of them you bring in now, will be making that seat vacant under 1 year to go for another by-election. We are not sure we'll be winning. There's a serving minister who believe he should be there. If he leaves now, he leaves that seat vacant, then Benue is -1 in the cabinet. So for me, the most important thing for APC today is to look at the strategy of us winning the general election.
So you are describing your your opponent, and you think that before, you think you have a leverage. You think that you are better than them. You think you are the best candidate. Is that what you're saying?
Well, everybody is ably qualified. I'm not running them down. I'm only appealing to their sensibility and for a larger project of us winning the next general election. We must be very strategic. For me, it's not to be the chairman of an opposition party. No, I want to be the chairman of a winning party. And I believe if we look at the bigger goal, then we should be able to allow reasoning.
Well, does the concept of consensus really coming now? Is the leadership of your party talking about consensus? Are you weighing the options of consensus? Because I know there are 2 candidates from Nasarawa State. Now, there are 2 of them also now from Niger. Governor Yari Abdulaziz Yari coming from Yobe State, though precluded by Zamfara State, precluded by the issue of zoning. But how does it play out in the for Benue and Kwara State? Have you agreed on consensus?
Well, funny enough, you just explained now the reality on ground. Nasarawa, we have 2 strong candidates. Niger, we equally have 2 strong candidates. I'm from Kwara, I'm the only candidate. Senator George Akume is the only candidate from Benue. Like I said, I'm only appealing to their sensibilities. If we must look at it, even if we want a consensus, not because I'm the one running, I think logically, I should be that consensus candidate with what I've narrated to you, having the history of this movement and also knowing what we need to win an election, and having the energy at this stage now. Don't forget, I keep on saying it always. We've gotten to a stage now in the growth of this country, on the political involvement of this country. The younger ones now are yearning for more participation. It has never been like this before. The gender, the women wing are also crying for the same participation. Today, you need somebody who strikes that balance, that bridge builder, which I think I represent. And I have made it a direct campaign policy that if given the opportunity, this will be the first time APC or any political party in Nigeria will find or will take it more seriously in making sure the party becomes an institution.
You say you will lead from the front. What do you mean by that?
Now, what I mean by that is that, 1, I will not shy away from responsibility. 2, I will bring about a style of leadership we use in the CPC, in the days of the CPC, with our late chairman, Prince Tony Momo, may so rest in peace, whereby every week we had a management meeting. We never waited for issues to pile up. We were so proactive that every week we dissect state by state, we find out what are the problems there. I won't just sit behind and wait for people to go set up committees. No.
How supreme will the party be? Considering what Adams Oshiomhole wanted to do at the time, do you support a radical departure from what is obtainable where political office holder take preeminence over the party leadership?
Now, let me also help you, Shehu. if you are looking for party supremacy, the first thing you must do is you must ensure internal democracy. Once you ensure internal democracy, you give people a sense of belonging. Let them have ownership, or let them feel that they are part and parcel of whatever is happening in the party. And you see, people think consultation is a sign of weakness. No, it's a strength. I will use it as a strength, because when you consult regularly, then you give people a sense of belonging. By then, you have reduced a one-man show. No more, I'm the godfather here, I decide for everybody. No.
So, but I mean, for people, a lot of you are looking up to the president. Whatever the president says, you know, is what you go. So if the president asks you to step down, would you?
Well, Shehu, the president I know, I have been with him since 2002 when he came into politics. We started as the Buhari organization. I was part of it till this day. When he even lost the election at the ballot, he fought his way to the Supreme Court. So I don't think President Buhari...
But you're here, okay, that you don't think...
I don't think President Buhari will deviate from the democrat he is to want to be authoritative or be dictating on everybody. So for me, I have not been informed officially.
But you heard that he's supporting Adamu Abdullahi.
Hear from who?
Have you heard about it?
For me, I believe it's just everybody's... You see, I have what they call spirit of sportsmanship. If others believe they can drop his name to win this game, some of us can equally drop his name.
You're very close to the president. You've been with him. Yes. Have you spoken with him about your ambition?
He has not. That is what I was coming to. For one, I believe if the president has a choice on any candidate, he would, or they will have informed us by now officially. Nobody has informed me officially, and that was why I was the first person to pick the form. And I have submitted my form. Others have equally picked the form. And like I said earlier, we have been in this campaign train for over a year plus now. In fact, almost 2 years now. So I think it will not be wise for anybody to just wake up overnight and decide to dictate on all of us. If this is what they want, we should have long before now narrowed it down.
But you think the North Central caucus should decide on a consensus, or you want to go into the arena and fight it out?
Like I said, we should allow reasoning now. And reasoning meaning that we should be very strategic. We want to win an election.
All right.
What are the chances and the possibilities of us winning an election? Let's look at what we have on ground. Let's permutate, and we'll look at the best choice. We'll have a criteria. Because don't forget, we'll be campaigning not just to APC followers. For the general election, we'll be facing the larger Nigerian crowd.
Mr. Saliu Mustafa, the candidate from Kwara State for the APC national chairman. I wish you the very best. It's just Saturday. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
But that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure Kimale. Bye for now.